First off, how many stories or discussion about, hey, we're going back to Durham, a place where we won a title a couple years ago? The guys who were here then been talking a lot about that.
We haven't talked a whole lot about 2 years ago, just because that was 2 years ago and a different team and a different time, and this is our time. You know, this is our team this year. We really try to focus on each year is different, each team is different because they are. But I think that, you know, our guys who were there 2 years ago can draw on that experience, obviously in a very positive way, from a confidence standpoint that we have played well there in the past. But for the most part, I think this year, again, is just a different team and a different year.
Fair to say that you guys have about as good a momentum going into the postseason as you've had in your 3 years here, and maybe as a head coach, does it feel like one of those kind of teams?
I think we've got a lot of good vibes going on, you know, in the program right now and with the team this year. Momentum, quite frankly, is always that day starting pitcher. So momentum to me is, I don't know if I would say it's overrated, but it's always going to be dictated by your starting pitcher. You know, so we've got to get off to good starts on the mound every game. You know, we've got to swing the bats well. We've got to have a certain level of heightened awareness and a sense of urgency. And when we get runners in scoring position, we got to find ways to get runners in, and we got to battle with 2 strikes and move runners. And we got to do the little things. I think that's the big key when you're playing tournament baseball and you're playing in the postseason, is you got to be able to do the little things in the game. I think as long as if we continue to pitch the way that we've been pitching and playing defense the way we've been playing defense, and we're going to give ourselves a chance to win every game against anybody. It's going to come down to the little things, and if we can do that, you know, then we're going to give ourselves a chance.
Does what happens tomorrow between Notre Dame and Miami change your pitching plans, and that you know you have to be the team that wins that game to advance?
We're going to consider everything. I mean, I think that we're going to number one. We're going to do everything we can to scout Notre Dame and figure out what we feel like is the best matchup against Notre Dame. Sure. We're also going to look at it from a standpoint of what is best for us to win the tournament. So when you take those 2 things into consideration, you know, then we will make a decision, you know, at some point here within the next 24 to 48 hours as to what we're going to do in terms of a starting pitcher. We obviously have a pretty good plan, and we have talked about it already, and we've discussed the scenarios. You know, but for us, it's going to be, again, what do we feel like gives us the best opportunity to beat Notre Dame, and also what gives us the best opportunity to win the tournament.
Coach, how is Hennessy's arm? Will that play at all into your decision?
Yeah, it definitely will. But, you know, Jacob's ready. He's ready to go. I think he's been playing catch. We gave him 7 days off, which was recommended by our training staff, just to give him time to recover. He feels good. You know, but we're going to use him however we feel like we need to use him. If we need to pitch him out of the bullpen, we'll pitch him out of the pen, and if we feel like we need to start him, then we'll start him. The great thing is he can do either. He has experiences in both. But, you know, he feels good, and he will be ready to go.
What about Burden and Meredith?
We do not think that Kier is going to be ready. We don't. You know, Kier, I would anticipate being out for the ACC tournament. Bird should be ready. He's going to be a little bit limited, but hopefully we can continue to get him more and more healthy throughout the week. So, you know, if you see him jogging the first when he hits a ground ball, that's because I've told him to do that. So, you know, when people, you know, we like guys to run balls out, but we also want to keep our guys on the field. So, you know, he needs to be careful because it's been a nagging injury pretty much for more than half the year. But we want to do everything we can to keep Bird in our lineup. So hopefully he'll be ready to go for us on Wednesday. He says he feels good and he's ready to go, but we need to be careful with him. But I would anticipate Bird being available. I would not. I don't think Kier is going to be able to play.
With Kier, does it give you comfort the way he came out earlier in the season and he had such a hot start? Does that allow you to rest him a little bit longer, knowing he can come in cold like that?
Well, usually really good athletes can jump right in there and make something happen. I mean, that's the bottom line. You look at guys like Sam Hall, you know, and how much of an impact he made from not playing at all to getting in there, throwing him right in the fire, and him being able to do what he's done. You know, a guy like Kier, same thing. I think the better the athlete, the quicker they can acclimate to live pitching in the game situations, and Kier's a big-time competitor. So if he's able to go, and he can play, and that's yet to be determined. That's going to be, you know, dependent upon what our doctors tell us and our training staff tells us. But if we can get him ready to go, then we feel like he can make an impact.
In terms of setting up your pitching, because guys are creatures of habit, would you feel inclined, though, to try to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday if everyone's feeling well. In other words, Hennessy for the first game, Crawford for the second. I mean, is that a big part of the conversation?
A big part of the conversation, and I think one thing that everybody needs to be aware of is when you play the series the week before, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, now we're jumping up and we're playing Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. Okay, we can't take a guy that throws on Saturday and pitch him Wednesday. We can't take a guy that throws Friday and pitch him Wednesday. Like, we're not going to do that to a pitcher. We are not going to pitch a guy on short rest. So the biggest things that we have to consider is who is our best available arm who has adequate rest. What is our best available guy to pitch game one, which is Wednesday, with adequate rest? Strider threw on Thursday. He would be available and is an option. Hennessy will be available. Matt Clark would be available, who had a good start against Kennesaw State. So we're going to look at all of those options and try to determine what we feel like is the best scenario for us to win the ball game. Crawford pitched on Friday. He's not going to be available until Thursday. So again, we're not going to jump 2 days. If a guy pitches on a Friday, I'm not pitching him on a Wednesday. If a guy pitches on Saturday, he's not going to pitch on a Thursday. Again, you pitch guys on short rest. That's how you get guys hurt. And we'll try to keep it as consistent as we can. Also with the mindset that we got to look towards the following week and make sure that we set our pitching up for a regional as well.
Does this team deserve a national seed?
Well, we tied for the lead in the ACC in regular season wins with 22. We were 43-13, which was the best in all Power 5 schools in the country. There's 295 Division I schools. Tennessee Tech won more games than us and nobody else. There's not a Power 5 school in the country that won more regular season games than Clemson. So if you value what a team does in the regular season, then we most certainly should be a national seed.
Coach, you guys are hitting home runs at a historic rate. What do you attribute this long ball renaissance to?
Well, I think you have to have the type of players who can do it, first and foremost, and it's also part of our mentality. You look at what we've done in the last 3 years. I don't know how it stacks up with other teams in our league in terms of total numbers, but I would be willing to bet we probably hit more home runs than anybody in the ACC in the last 3 years. Anything that you value, you're going to coach and you're going to teach and you're going to work out and you're going to celebrate. So we celebrate guys being able to hit the ball in the seats. It's just part of our program. It's part of what we do. So we spend a lot of time working on maximizing our players' swing so they can get the ball in the air and hit it where you can't defend it.
How does Durham treat the long ball in terms of your lineup compared to other places?
Well, it's a good place to hit. There's no doubt about it. If it was 2 years ago, now a lot of times weather has a factor in that. If the wind's blowing in, it's hard to hit a ball out of any place. But if the wind's blowing out some, it's a friendly place to hit.
How do you balance the importance of the ACC tournament with what is on the horizon in the next week or two following?
We only worry about what's in front of us, the next game on the schedule, and that message is going to be consistent from opening day all the way through the postseason. We really don't deviate or change a whole lot from an approach week by week, game by game. We're not going to look towards next week right now. We're going to focus on this week. Our goal is to try to win the ACC tournament, so we're going to do everything we can to do that. The only thing that we have to look at from next week's standpoint is trying to line up our pitching so that our guys are on a consistent routine leading into next week. We don't want to deviate a whole lot, but we would do the same thing if we were in a weekend series, say in week 1 going into week 2 going into week 3. We wouldn't deviate that schedule for our starting pitchers a whole lot either.
Monte, what did you learn from the first 2 years? You won it the first year, obviously, then last year you went 0-2. What do you do to learn from and try to take from both those experiences into this one?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, I think last year, if you look at the first game, we had a couple plays that we did not make or we win that game. We were in control of that game against Duke. We don't catch a pop-up down the right field line, which led to a couple runs late, and we wound up getting beat. And then the game against Virginia, the bottom line is Pat Crawl was un-Pat Crawl-like. He just got hit. He'd been so good for us all year long, and he just had a bad start. And, you get down early in a ball game, there's no magic dust that you can break out and sprinkle on your players to score 10 runs against a pitching staff like Virginia had. So, I don't know. We didn't do anything different last year than we did the year before. I think the bottom line is to win the tournament, you got to have great starting pitching, and you got to have quality starts. You got to have a good bullpen, and you can't beat yourself. You know, another big key in tournament baseball is scoring first. You know, you got to be able to score first and score early and put the pressure in the other dugout. Okay, when you play in the postseason, when you're down, you feel it. I mean, that's the bottom line, because we all understand how important these games are if you're trying to win a tournament, you're trying to win a regional. When you get down, it's a little bit different. So being able to get a bunt down early in a ball game in the postseason matters, because if you can score first, it puts pressure on that dugout. They got to make decisions based on when to take that starter out or when to leave him in. So it's definitely different. Everything is amplified in the postseason. We're in the postseason. If there's anything that I've learned is right now our team is 0-0. Our batting averages is 0. Our ERA is 0. And why do I say that? Because somebody's going to have to step up either out of the bullpen for us or in the lineup and be able to give us something that maybe they haven't given us up to this point. Everybody remembers Mike Triller. You know, why did we win that tournament 2 years ago? It's a guy that had 12 at-bats. I mean, something like that coming into the tournament. He had a great weekend at Notre Dame the weekend before. We put him in there. He's the MVP of the ACC tournament. Somebody is going to have an unsung hero, so to speak, is going to have to step up for Clemson, whether it's out of the bullpen or in the lineup, and give us something that the big three, you know, whether it's the big three out of the pen or the big three in our lineup, somebody else is going to have to give us something if we're going to be able to win this tournament and make a deep run.
Did you fully expect this level of performance out of the bullpen from the get-go, or were they a little bit better than that?